I now call to order the regular session meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs on Tuesday, March 5th, 2013 at 6:30. Roll call.
Mayor Archie?
Here.
Vice Mayor Alhuza?
Here.
Commissioner Flattering? Here. Commissioner Larson?
Here.
Commissioner Tarpon?
Here. Is Chaplain Melody Kidd here? I think that's Chaplain Kidd, but we're happy for Chaplain Black being here. If everyone would stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance following.
Let us pray. Lord, this evening, I pray for everyone who is present, and especially for all officials, that they may conduct the affairs of city government with wisdom, bravery, and true justice. I pray that they may truly represent the needs of the people and work in harmony for the advancement of all men, women, and children of this city. I pray for the judges that rule the courts, that they may balance justice with mercy and civil law with divine mandate. Father, let all that is said and done here this evening be according to your will. These things we ask in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'd like just to announce that the item number 23 has been deferred by the applicant until April 16th meeting. We will now go to public comments on any item that would not be discussed this evening. If you have something, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you will be given up to 4 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Carla Weisskopf. I'm a licensed mental health counselor for Suncoast Center, and our address is 4010 Central Avenue, St. Petersburg, Florida, 33710. Sorry, I'm old. I wear my glasses. I'm here this evening to make a presentation in partnership with the Tarpon Springs Housing Authority and Cops to Kids. Suncoast Center services are now available in an outreach center in Tarpon Springs. And we're having an open house on March 20th from 4 to 6. At our new center, we will have staff at hand to explain the different services that we offer. Suncoast Center has been around in the community for approximately 60 years, and we're the largest mental health agency in Pinellas County. The program that I'm associated with is Total Family Strategy. I believe strongly in its methodology. The services that we offer are free to families. However, they are funded by the Juvenile Welfare Board. We accept referrals from neighborhood centers, self-referrals, referrals from our police department, and actually referrals through child protection investigations. We offer in-home counseling weekly for up to 6 months with aftercare provided for additional 6 months. We work with families on mental health issues, substance abuse issues, domestic violence, also with parenting issues, and we would love to see each and every one of you out at our open house. Again, that's March 20th from 4 to 6 at 545 East Harrison Street. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no other public comments, we'll go to our proclamations.
My wife asked me, since I was going to be here, Tim Kafalis, 205 Beechwood Road, she asked me to please mention the Historical Society Vintage Clothing Fashion Show on the 16th of March. We hope you can all attend. Several of you in the past have come, or at least your wives have. It's at the Yacht Club on the 16th. Please try to come. It is for the benefit of the Historical Society, and it's always been a fun event, and it'll be catered. $25 donation, and you can contact my wife on there if you would like to participate. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? We'll go to proclamations. The first one we have is Girl Scouting Week. This proclamation reads, City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, whereas March 12, 2013 marks the 101st anniversary of Girl Scouting in America, begun by Juliet Gordon Lowe in 1912 in Savannah, Georgia. And whereas throughout its distinguished history, Girl Scouting has inspired millions of girls and women with the highest ideals of courage, confidence, and character. And whereas throughout the Girl Scout leadership experience, girls develop the skills and lessons that will serve them for a lifetime, whereas Girl Scouting takes an active role in increasing awareness of the opportunities available to them in math, science, sports, technology, and other fields that can expand their horizons. Whereas more than 3 million current Girl Scout members nationwide are celebrating 101 years of tradition and leadership, with nearly 50 million women who are former Girl Scouts and living proof of the impact of the movement. Now, therefore, I, David O. Archie, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Tarpon Springs, do hereby proclaim the week of March 10th through March 16th, 2013 as Girl Scout Week. And I'll just say, hey, it's cookie time. Also, our next proclamation that we have is Purchasing Month. This proclamation reads, whereas public procurement profession plays a significant role in the efficiency and effectiveness of both government and business, and whereas in addition to the purchase of goods and services, procurement adds value to the organization by performing functions such as executing, implementing, and administering contracts, developing strategic procurement strategies, cultivating working relationship with suppliers and other departments within the organization. And whereas public procurement professionals in the City of Tarpon Springs government and in other public and private organizations have a tremendous influence on the economic conditions in the United States, with the cumulative purchasing power running into the billions of dollars. And whereas the purchasing department in the City of Tarpon Springs is committed to provide high caliber strategic, logistical, and operational support of all departments within the City of Tarpon Springs, whereas the purchasing department in the City of Tarpon Springs recognizes, supports, and practices the public procurement values and guiding principles of accountability, ethics, impartiality, professionalism, service, and transparency established by the Institute for Public Procurement and as fundamental tenets of the public procurement profession, whereas NIGP has proclaimed the month of March as Purchasing Month to further expand the awareness of purchasing professionals' role to government officials, the general public, business, and corporate leaders. Now, therefore, I, David O. Archie, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2013 as Purchasing Month. And we'll ask Mr. Jacobs to come forward, accept this. You have a little something you'd like to say?
I would just like to remind everyone that this Friday we have our trade show across the street with a number of our contract vendors going to be in attendance showing some of the current products. Also, for Purchasing Month on Thursday, March 21st, we'll hold our second annual reverse trade show where we ask all the city businesses to come in and find out how to do business with the city. Last year we had a few folks. We're hoping for a few more to show up this year. So thank you.
Well, we thank you for that, and we definitely would like to emphasize to those businesses in Tarpon, if you decide to do business, this is an opportunity to come and find out how to the process works. So that's going to be on Thursday. With that, we'll go to presentation, and the first one is item number 3, energy audit presentation.
Well, good evening, honorable commissioners, mayor, city manager, city staff, and community members. On behalf of the Amoresco team, we are pleased to be here this evening and present to you the results, if you will, of an energy conservation project that you embarked upon last year, the details of which are in this audit that has been provided to city staff, but for which we'll summarize this evening. Just as a recap, Florida Statute 489.145 has encouraged municipalities to take on energy conservation through a performance contracting effort. And so we entered into a contract to perform a detailed energy audit with the city last year. And we took a look at specifically 14 facilities, of which you do have a copy of the presentation. But these are pretty much some of your major energy consumption users. Through this process, we actually developed 6 specific energy conservation measures. What I'd like to do is just highlight for you real quickly what is entailed in those energy measures. Then we'll look at specifically the financing or the financial metrics, if you will, because there's no financing of this project, as well as some of the carbon offsets that this project will provide, as well as in the implementation of this project. So energy conservation measure ECM 1 and 2, specifically we looked at some of your lighting here within the city. We looked at your indoor lighting as well as the exterior lighting. And some of the specific energy conservation measures that we're looking at is to upgrade the lighting in most of the major facilities, or those 14. What we will be doing is replacing aged or inefficient lighting with fluorescent lighting or LED. I wanted to specifically highlight just 2 of the projects. One is the library, wherein right now you have some very high indirect HID or high efficiency discharge lighting. And what we're going to do is what we'd like to do through this project is replace that with induction lighting. It is certainly, it provides easier maintenance for your staff. It's easier on the eyes. There is a much longer life to those bulbs, somewhere between 20 to 50,000 hours. One of the other opportunities in this lighting project is over at the wastewater treatment plant, where we're looking at installing exterior hinged lighting poles. It will be much more easier from a maintenance standpoint, and safety has been provided. We did install a light over there as a pilot project, and it was very well received by the staff and by the folks there. So that is something, it is a very specific LED new fixture that has come on the market, and again, that we have tested. ECM, or Energy Conservation Measure number 3, provides for HVAC energy management system. It's a control system in your facilities. And what this will do is provide a consolidated control basis for your staff to operate and maintain the efficiency and the operating conditions of the HVAC in some of your major facilities there. Energy conservation measure number 4 is actually the HVAC equipment replacement and or modifications at some of your facilities. As you can see there's 3 projects slated specifically, which is the rooftop units at City Hall, a water-cooled chiller over at the Public Safety Building. Right now they have an aged air-cooled system, and we're looking to replace that with water-cooled. And then over at the library, we are providing some DX or direct exchange units, and we will provide a redundancy over at the Public Safety Building. That is something that was of great concern to your facility staff, is that heaven forbid something happens, with the main system, you're able to operate on the existing system that is there. Okay. ECM 5, or building envelope at City Hall, what we're looking to do through this project or energy measure is look at closing the infiltration above the auditorium here. We see some opportunities for tightening up of this building, and so this energy measure would provide that, again, provides energy efficiency here in this building. ECM number 6 is the influent pump addition over at the wastewater treatment plant. Again, this provides, it's a small pump, but it will provide much more substantially improved energy conservation through the use of this increased efficiency system. We will provide redundancy, though, again, over there, because we're taking the inefficient one right now, but it will be able to be operational again, if the need is there based on the needs of the water treatment area. One of the things that we did look at, and again, your staff tasked us with looking at renewable energies, and we consider solar and wind technology, but one of the things that we very quickly found was that the rate here, the utility rate, is very attractive, and unfortunately, when we do an analysis, because this is an energy performance contracting project, this project has to fall, all of the payback needs to fall within a 20-year term, so that's the maximum term that we can put all of these measures in, and it has to be a self-funding project, which means all of these measures will be paid for from energy savings. What Ameresco has committed to the city is that through this guaranteed project, if we do not meet the guaranteed savings on an annual basis, then we write you a check for the difference. The problem is on the solar, what we found was that it was a very long payback, again, 24 to 26 years. Unfortunately, the rebates, federal grants, et cetera, they are not available at this time, but we do think that it is a possible measure should those become available, and we can come back and revisit that. So, financially, this project, it's, again, the 6 energy conservation measures there. We have a proposed installation cost. We have the proposed energy savings, again, that each energy measure should provide. It is approximately a $1.2 million project with $92,000 of annual energy savings. This next graph is just to indicate to you how we have assessed the cost, the savings, and the fact that it will pay for itself with a positive cash flow or cash balance, if you will, every year, and that it is an 11-year term or payback. What this project provides for the city is an overall 27% reduction on your electrical expenditure of the commercial buildings that we have looked at. I will say, and we sincerely, on behalf of the Ameresco team, we applaud the city staff with the efforts that they have already promulgated towards energy conservation. You made our job very challenging. A lot of times there's low-hanging fruit, and that pays for some of your more capital-intensive equipment. But you're already doing a great job, and so, 27% is great, but we have seen, again, sometimes it can go up to 40, depending on whether there have not been energy measures already in place. So what that equates to from a carbon footprint reduction, how you all are affecting the environment is this is $92,000 of annual utility savings. You can see, as we call it, NOx and SOx, how that equates. But essentially, the equivalencies are that, you're removing, if you will, 129 cars off the road, or you're powering 81 homes with this reduction that this project can provide. If we move on to the implementation stage, what we would like to do is look at utilizing as much local qualified subcontractors to the extent of using them to install mechanical, electrical, plumbing, etc., all of the trades that this project would provide. We will competitively bid that process. We will provide training, and we have different types of training, but as you can see, it ranges from schoolroom type classroom setting to actually, if need be, going to an actual site and reviewing the mechanics of the new HVAC equipment, as well as helping you perhaps develop some energy policy, as well as some behavioral modification. Part of this energy project is to ensure that everyone is aware of what you are doing to reduce your energy, but then also what their place and part is, and in the role of that. So, Ameresco, America's Esco Energy Service Company. When I was up here months and months ago, shared this with you, but just as a recap, we're the largest independent energy service company in North America. We have well over 900 folks in the company in 59 different locations. We are local. And we will be there at the purchasing open house, but we've had a great working relationship with you all, and we're pleased to be here. Energy performance contracting is our core business, but providing energy solutions is our only business. So we don't have any competing interests in our company except to provide to you the best energy solutions. We are on the Florida State Term Contract. That is how we were selected, and we thank you for the opportunity. We do have our whole engineering team here that is available to answer any questions.
Well, definitely we thank you for this presentation, and I guess I would look at, what do you look at as far as the time frame for implementation of the various process as far as the savings of the sun?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We expect no more than a 12-month construction term. As soon as we do get an approved contract, we are ready to go with lighting. That is typically, again, something that provides immediate savings when we change out those bulbs, and you will have those savings through the term of the contract. What we do is we begin to assess those savings once we finish the completion of the project. That is what we've guaranteed on an annual basis, are those savings. So you will begin to have those savings immediately, but we would look at a 12-year term overall. But we will bid out the project. We have the pieces and parts that we would, in a timeline that we have provided in a schedule that follows up, I think, later in this agenda.
When you are bidding this, and you talked about using local vendors and companies, is there some type of weighted method or preference as far as, I'm just trying to figure out how you would differentiate one business from the other business? If one is local, will they get additional points, or how would you look at
we'll work with your purchasing staff as far as the specifications go, and we'll look and see, as far as the local, maybe a local preference. One of the things that we, again, have to be careful of is that it's a guaranteed performance contract, so we have to stand behind the savings that we guarantee. So the qualified contractor is important to us so that we inspect and be sure that we have the quality of the work. But we will work with your purchasing staff as far as specifying the use of local contractors.
All right, thank you. Are there questions that you might have? Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Well, thank you for the presentation. It's been a while since you got the contract to do the audit. And I believe the contract was for $30,000, am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, with the $30,000, do we get a detailed report on the items that need to be changed and things that need to be modified, or we're just getting this presentation? This is what we're getting?
Yeah, 3 inches, and it does provide all of the background and the details, the specifications as far as the type of equipment that we look to install, and certainly much more information. Yes, sir.
Okay. The other question that I have is it will take 24 to 26 years to recover the expense that we...
Only if we were to install solar. All of these measures total the payback, if you will, or the return on investment is 11 years, which means it will self-fund in 11 years. You will begin to see the improvements immediately with the change out of the inefficient equipment.
Yes, and you provide us guarantee that we're going to get the return.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. What kind of, are you going to put a bond on that in case your company decides I'm not going to be around in 5 years?
Well, we certainly will, but we do have payments and performance bonds that have been provided to us through the purchasing department. But we also, we have an annual reconciliation that we will work with your staff, and we have established a baseline measurement. So we know how you're operating your facilities right now. We know that with the improved equipment and efficiencies, the reduction in the consumption, and we will continue to measure and verify that on an annual basis. And annually, we will make that report to you to indicate or prove that those savings are being generated.
Again, the question was that maybe it wasn't very clear, that 11 years down the road,
yes, sir.
If we don't meet our expectations, you're supposed to return the guarantee that you have promises. If you're not around, how are we going to get this money?
We do have, again, there is a bond that says that we will annually reconcile and provide to you a payment difference on the consumption if we're not meeting those savings. And yes, we will be here in 11 years.
Okay. Thank you. The other question that we have is, the price tag that you're giving us, how we know this is the best price that we can get?
That right now
We were able to negotiate the price.
Yeah, it's a not to exceed price, more like a design build or GMP. What we have done is we have walked contractors, gotten some pricing, if you will. We know that it's a real pricing. We do know that it could come in higher, it could come in lower. What we have established is a not to exceed price.
Okay, I guess the question will be to the staff then my next question is, we were able to solicit any other contractors and see if we get the best price available.
I believe if we bid the project out ourselves, we would not have the energy savings guarantee. They would be off the hook. And
But that doesn't give us...
They were selected on a competitive basis. This is largest state contractors, probably 8 or 10 firms that were on the contract. We selected the most qualified through our normal process. So it was a competitive process.
And from my aspect, the other cities that have done this is why you do a total package. This is why, first of all, these people had a difficult time making it to the state list. Then of the people on the state list, we personally put out the bids for to see, in our opinion, which was the best. You could piecemeal it, do the different things out and stuff, but most of the other cities have found that this is the most efficient method, that the prices are the best, and plus, you're guaranteed. You got that guarantee about getting the payments back. So that's why this was established. I think the mayor and I first saw this at a league conference several years ago when this was starting. Cities like Clore and all over have entered into these things, and the way to go is total package, because all we do at the end of this, if you go to the item later on tonight and approve it, we turn it over to them. They get the best prices of all the things. Obviously, it's in their interest too to get the best prices, and we get the whole package in the most efficient fashion, and of course we're guaranteed our money. So this is a path many other cities have followed, and it's in their opinions and in my opinion and our staff opinions, this is the best way to go and the most efficient way to do this, as opposed to trying to bid all these things out separately. Besides the man hours it would take, I don't think we get, there would not be a price difference that would substantiate taking away that risk of the savings and that stuff. I don't even think it's a close call.
I'm not sold on the idea, Mr. LaCourse. The reason for that is all the items that you're going to replace to make those improvements for the energy conservation measurements is going to give you energy savings. If you're going to change an air conditioner and you put a brand new unit and replace it with a water cooler, it's going to give you the difference. So I'm not really sure, unless we see in black and white the savings that we're going to get if another contractor puts a bid on it. I won't feel comfortable with it. That's my opinion.
We'll respectfully disagree.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Lawson.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank you for being here this evening for the presentation. I have not had an opportunity to see the big thick binder, and this evening is the first time that I've seen the presentation. I'm wondering if you could please go back to pages 11, 12, and 13, and if you could just kind of go through those again so I could get a better understanding of how the cost savings work, particularly in regards to the timeline of everything.
Okay. So what we've identified here is we have taken each of the different measurements or energy conservation measures, and we have identified very specifically in every space, if you will, or every area within, let's say, city clerk's office, et cetera. There's a breakdown of where these energy conservation measures or improvements will occur. And we have a total project that we have then assessed the proposed cost of that. What we've also identified then is we've performed a modeling analysis and we've looked at the efficiency of those upgrades, and we've deduced here what is going to be the equivalency from the consumption to energy savings. And so what this does is and we have provided as well some rebates that are available. So the total project is $1.9 with annual energy savings of $91,987.
Pardon me for interrupting. I just want to make sure I understand as you go. The spot that says less rebate, $12,581. What rebate is that referring to?
That's referring to some lighting improvements. Progress Energy has identified some rebates specifically with the lighting. So that will come back to the city.
And then the next column, which says ECM energy savings.
Yes.
And we can take the first one, for example, lighting system improvements, $20,233. What time period is that referring to when it gives that figure?
These are annual. These are yearly energy savings with those improvements, with the replacement of inefficient lighting, with new lighting. So these are all
So on an annual basis,
yes,
on our lighting system improvements, we would see a savings of $20,000.
Yes, across the city in 14 of your facilities.
And then the next column, annual O&M savings?
Yes. That is, it's
operating and maintenance?
Exactly. That's operating and maintenance savings that you will not have the replacement of those bulbs. So there's maintenance that will be relieved of that responsibility. And it's very small, but on an annual basis, it's about $3,800. And it was assessed only on the lighting.
And then the last column, total savings, again, that's on an annual basis.
Correct.
And so when you talk about it taking 11 years, that's how long it would take to recoup the cost that we're putting into the installation?
That's correct. So that is, if your total annual savings is $95,000, every year we are responsible for monitoring and verifying, to proving to you through that annual reconciliation. So there's your total ongoing cost. And the total, if you will, it says here lease, but the total program cost is $91,200. So each year, as you can see, we've assessed a $4,600 cash balance through this project. And if you look at the total annual savings and the total cost, that it will take 11 years to pay the cost of the total project. That's your return on investment.
And then if you could also please go to the next page, the next slide, page 13.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking at.
This is what we wanted to do, was to deduce the KWH, the kilowatt hours of savings, the electrical consumption, the reduction that you will have. And this is ECM1. So this is in your lighting at approximately 176,000 KWH. And so we total these up to get what would be your equivalency regarding your carbon footprint.
So the first bar is the lighting system improvements.
Yes.
The second bar is outdoor lighting.
Correct.
Because there was nothing at the bottom of the graph, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, ECM should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay. I guess those are all my questions for right now. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Commissioner Tarpon.
Thank you. I first want to thank you for your presentation. I kind of want to reiterate a little bit of what we've already discussed. It's been in pretty good detail. So just to reiterate, at the end of year 3, if we're not saving $95,000 and we save $70,000, you make up the balance between 70 and 95.
Correct. They're writing a check for the difference.
So if we were to bid this in another way, there wouldn't be that guarantee.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. In terms of a return on investment, if we look at this as from an investment standpoint, which I think you have to for the city as a whole, I think you're looking at about a 9% return on investment. Is that about right? If you're paying it back in 11 years, it's about 9% return?
Yes.
Okay, that's a pretty good return in a nutshell if you look at it from an investment standpoint. If you were to go buy a piece of property and look for a return, or invest in something else and look for a return, 9% return is pretty good, especially when it's guaranteed.
Yes.
And you're going to try and utilize some local tradesmen for the construction?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for being here and being so thorough on this. And you know, I would support this. I would support this project. You know, it makes sense to me. There is a return on investment. There is a guarantee if we don't save what you're telling us we would save. So, you know, I think this is a great idea, and I would support the project.
Thank you so much. Well, and again, we thank your city staff because they've been so helpful as we've gone through this project. We've surveyed all of your facilities. We've received all of your data. And I think that these are measures above and beyond what they're able to do on their own at this time. It requires the replacement of aged equipment in order to get to the energy efficiency that I know the city is trying to achieve, and that's part of why this project will be successful for you.
There are no other commission comments. We'll open it up for any public comments on this item.
Chris Robosky, 1602 Gulf Beach Boulevard, Tarpon Springs, 34689. I have reviewed the city's electric bill in the past. It's huge, so I commend you on this, doing this, making these efforts. But I do have questions for you. I don't know who is the expert here, but you did say that you reviewed the lift stations, and I was wondering, have you examined the possibility of putting a low-power DC pump in the lift stations and having it run on solar panel just throughout the day, and then, of course, the AC pump could take over at night? Have you examined that possibility? Because I've heard that these pumps are rather low cost. Of course, it would only be running through the day, but that's when they're used the most. Am I asking the right person here?
What I would ask if you do, Mr. Bonsky, is that whatever questions that you might have, you go ahead and do those, and then we'll try to make sure that we provide you with the answers.
Well, this is it, so we might all learn something if we get this.
All right. Thank you.
Can you understand what I'm getting at, right? Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'd like to introduce Eric Schott. He is one of our senior development engineers, and so I have him address that.
Thank you very much. We have checked all of the lift stations. Quite frankly, the wastewater treatment plant is the one that used most of the money or the energy for all of your wastewater treatment. We went to the wastewater treatment plant. We did look at variable frequency drive and you do already have a few with variable frequency drive. We looked at higher efficiency pumps, and most of the projects that we wanted to do had 15 and 20 years. One of the most, we do look at a lot of cities, and this city wastewater treatment plant overall, it was amazing because you're using not just on the lift stations, which was compared to the overall budget for the wastewater treatment plant, it's a very, very small portion of the total.
Even combined.
Yeah. But when we start looking at putting solar panels and that specific project, I mean, you can do so many projects. That specific project with solar panels, with DC motors for the lift stations,
right.
I cannot tell you that we cover 100% of everything. That particular project, I didn't look at it. Okay. Now, based on experience on the solar projects that we can do, based on the project that we wanted to do with the lift stations, and we went to every lift station in the city, it is going to have a very long payback. And again, we only want to bring to the city proven technologies, okay? And we do this for a living, and we do not do that specific project in the manner that you specify.
Has that been done somewhere? Pilot study on it?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay.
Yeah. But
please do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments on this item?
Evening. Peter Lacus, 514 Ashland Avenue. As Chris said, and you've heard me speak about before, it's about time we start doing things to start conserving energy and doing things to preserve our resources. I'm a little confused, and maybe we'll talk about this when I can talk during the contract portion, because I heard payback in 20 years, I heard self-fund in 11, in the backup later it's a risk-free loan for 7 years. I didn't see a contract in the backup that y'all are going to agree to, which specifies time, so I'll try not to waste my time on that. My concern at this point is solar. I can understand maybe they're looking at current proven technologies, maybe not having the payback. And being in this industry, I'm sure they're on top of maybe all of the potentials that are available with solar. And not knowing how long our contract is for sure, so I'm going to assume 11 years. My concern is if technologies or things come available within this time frame, would we be able to add solar in or some sort of solar facet at that time, and would that be able to be included in the current contract, or would that be addendums? Also, I heard that there was like 14 buildings evaluated. My thing I'm looking on a larger picture is the city has property in other areas such that maybe if they spread around where they absorb or collect the solar from, then maybe we'll have a higher return on the solar. We have a lot of buildings that are available, I think, for potential retrofits. If you want to look at public-private partnerships, I just thought of this right now, but maybe you can go into a commercial facility and work in an agreement where between you and that developer, put in solar panels, share the cost, and share the return. I don't know, there's other ways, but to me, in Florida, to not look at solar is absurd. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments on this item? I don't know if you have
Would you like for me to address those 3 points?
If you feel like you want to wrap it up, you can.
Real quickly, the statute, Florida Statute 49.145 says that there's a maximum term of 20 years that you as a city could embark upon. This project self-funds and the return is 11 years. Absolutely, when solar does become a feasible energy conservation measure, if the city chooses to do that, you certainly can add that either on your own as a part of this project through an addendum, et cetera. So that's certainly up to the city. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the presentation and your thoroughness in terms of providing information to us, and we'll see how it goes in the next phase.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item that we have on our agenda is the consent item. Satisfaction release of liens, attorney fees, Thompson, Sizemore, Gonzalez, and Buren. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to skip across that. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to skip across a couple of things. Sorry about that, Mr. Peters. Budget Advisory Committee recommendation.
Mr. Mayor, I see you want to get out early tonight.
There's never any early up here.
My name is Marty Peters, 1702 Heritage Oaks Court, and I'm speaking tonight as the chair of the Budget Advisory Committee. My committee has presented you with 2 recommendations, and I'd like to explain those a little bit, not so much for you, but maybe for the people in the audience so that they'll better understand what's going on. I'd like to start out with the first one. I'll read it. The Budget Advisory Committee recommends the Board of Commissioners make it a high priority to lobby Tallahassee to close the tax loophole that allows for profit corporations to set up non-profit front groups to avoid local taxes. Now, that sounds a little harsh, but let me start out by complimenting the Tampa Bay Times for bringing this to our attention. It's a newspaper that we're fortunate to have in that it brings up some things like this. The genesis for this was an article from Susan Taylor Martin on December 16th, 2012, entitled Florida Builders' Rich Tax Loophole Hurts Local Governments. And that was followed 2 days later with an editorial by the Times saying, close tax break loophole on for-profit home builders. And I'd like to try and simplify things and explain what this all involves. It seems to me that there's been sort of an unwritten covenant to help out the poor and to help out the seniors in our society. That's part of what we are in America. The federal government has been providing some tax breaks, basically, for developers to go in and provide some low-income housing for seniors and for people that cannot afford high-income housing or even moderate-income housing. And this has been a beneficial thing not only for the federal government because it makes our nation stronger, but it's been good for local governments and local communities because it helps out the people in need, reducing trauma, something that you've talked about on a number of occasions. And it also provides, ultimately, more of a tax base and more of a community. And these tax breaks allow the developers to come in and provide that affordable housing, and then over a period of time, their tax breaks go away, and then the people in that community that are running it, the developers that are still around managing it, then have created enough profit so that they can perform on a successful economic level to provide tax dollars to provide for the infrastructure and the services that we provide in a local government. The state legislature last year got a recommendation to try and help out groups like Habitat for Humanity so that they would be able to provide larger sources of low-income housing. So they changed the law. And in effect, unintended or for secret reasons, whatever, it broke that covenant because now the local governments are in a situation where we still will be needed to provide the services for those people that move into those communities. And the ability of the for-profit developers to now convert to a non-profit front allows them to take the dollars that would normally go in as taxes to provide for the services, take them for profits, and skip town or use them for some other purpose, Cayman Islands or whatever. At any rate, what was pointed out by the Times is that this was an error. That was not supposed to happen. It was just supposed to help people. And the impact on Tarpon Springs, and our city manager was quoted in the article, that one of the developments in Tarpon Springs, if that were to happen, and they set up this front, it would cost us over $200,000 in taxes on a given year. We have a number of those communities in Tarpon Springs, a number of those developments, and it's good that we have them. They make us a stronger city. But for us to maybe be in a situation, if all of them convert to this tax loophole, we would lose perhaps millions of dollars annually. And you know what our budget is and what impact that would be. Hopefully the legislature will correct that. But without the Times, nobody would have known it. They're starting to do that in South Florida now. It hasn't come to Tarpon Springs yet, but with that idea out there, it's awfully tempting. And it is the law. So what we're suggesting you do is advise staff to make it a high priority to lobby in Tallahassee to close that loophole before it begins to affect us. We're hoping that you could just sort of as a consensus direct the city manager to do that. And I think you would appreciate that support knowing that that's your intent also. If not a consensus, then a vote on it, but that was our hope. And if you want to deal with that one, I'll pause for a moment, or if you want, I'll go on to the next one.
You can just go to the next one.
The next one was the Budget Advisory Committee recommends the Board of Commissioners to study ways to streamline the permitting process. You've done this from time to time. I've been listening to the candidates at their debate forums, and they've all been talking about doing the same thing, and in their literature they've been talking about streamlining the permitting process. What we did on the Budget Advisory Committee, which was totally independent, in fact, one of our members also was suggesting the same thing or made the motion on it, that we streamline that permitting process, was we don't want to harm the controls that we have to make sure things are done right. But we would like to see if there are any ways to streamline it. And we thought that since it hadn't been looked at for a few years, maybe we could look and see and check, have staff check with what other cities have done in the last few years and see if they had any new original ideas that we might want to adopt. So that was our second recommendation. Thank you. If you have any questions.
Thank you for those recommendations. I don't know if anyone have any objections to any of the recommendations that you have. One of the things is my suggestion as we go forward as far as legislative initiatives that we do it a little earlier. I know staff is capable of going to Tallahassee, which some of us will be up in Tallahassee too with doing some lobbying on behalf of Tarpon and the rest of the cities with the Florida League. But it's easier sometimes to get to our legislative delegation before, and they do a couple of hearings within the county. If we can get their support in terms of moving something up that way, it makes it a little better. But I really don't have any objection on the city manager or any of our staff going and trying to get the ear of not only our legislative body, but others up in Tallahassee. So I don't know if anyone else has any comments. Commissioner Lawson and Vice Mayor.
Thank you. In regards to the first item, I believe, and Mr. LaCourse, I think you can chime in, but I believe the League of Cities is already doing something in regards to that recommendation.
And hopefully soon, I talked today, and there are a couple of senators pros and bills. Hopefully, maybe by the next meeting, or at least April, I'll be able to bring back a bill. Hopefully, it'll be a bill we'll look over it and approve, but there are presently supposedly bills on the works to close that loophole. I made a call this afternoon to see if they've been filed yet, and they hadn't been, but I'm supposed to get a call as soon as they're filed based for some lobbying, I think, from the Florida mayors, from the City Managers Association, from the League of Cities. Some senators are going to be bringing forth, hopefully soon, some bills, and then I can even bring forward them to you and maybe a resolution supporting them or something of that sort when we've got an actual bill to look at that'll assure us to close the loophole. So
yeah, I would presume that there's probably a list of municipalities that are already in support of closing the tax loophole, and maybe we could have Tarpon Springs added to that list. So that'd be one way to show support for that. And then in regards to the second recommendation, maybe we could get some kind of a report or a presentation at a future meeting explaining exactly what we could do to streamline the permitting process. As Mr. Peters said, not in a way that removes, controls, to make sure that we're still reviewing things the way they need to be reviewed. But if there are some tangible things that we could do to streamline the process, obviously it'd be a good idea.
We'll have to bring that back to you.
Yeah. And I'd like to thank Mr. Peters and the Budget Advisory Board for the work that they do and for these recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I also like to thank the Budget Advisory Committee for coming up with those recommendations. I was going to say the same thing, that the Florida League of Cities is working on that issue. And the other thing is, I believe every process should be reviewed and reevaluated periodically. Not only this particular one permitting process that we have in place, but all the other processes should be reviewed periodically and evaluated. Perhaps some adjustments need to be made. Time from time, there are things that change, and so processes need to be changed too. So it is a good recommendation, and I'm sure that Mr. LaCourse will take that and give the direction to the directors to start evaluating their process from time to time. Thank you.
Commissioner Tarpon.
Thank you. In terms of the second recommendation, Mr. LaCourse, as you're moving forward with it, I'm sure that'll be something that Ms. Lemons will be working closely on as the Economic Development Manager, and anything that she's learned in her term here, looking at different cities or reviewing what they do, I'm sure she'll be more than happy to bring to the table when you're looking at those discussions.
Yes.
And also, as always, we want to thank the Budget Advisory Committee, Mr. Peters and Mr. Banter, who's in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to thank the Budget Advisory Committee for the recommendations, and these are great recommendations. And yes, the second item I know is a topic that's come up at these candidate forums lately, and that somebody's campaigning on, and it's a great idea. And like Vice Mayor Alahusas has said, some of our other processes probably need to be reviewed as well. But I've heard quite a few people talk about our permitting process, and I believe it can be made easier. And these are the next couple of years that will be important to this community when it comes to economic development. So now's the time to review the process and see how we can make it streamlined better. Not necessarily easier, but streamlined better for people that want to come into the community. So thank you for these recommendations.
Thank you again. I don't know whether we have any public comments on this item. If we have, come forward, state your name, address. But I just say I know staff will be glad to look at the permitting process. Some of us can remember that the SMART Code started out as a way of streamlining the permitting process. And when it got to the end, everybody was very uncomfortable with staff and some of the administrative things that would have been in place that would have streamlined it, and decided that they would like to attach some of the old traditional ways of doing things, which made the process basically what it was. So we look forward to anything that might be new and innovative, but sometimes it rests with us up here being able to believe that staff is capable of doing what we are paying them to do. So with that, we'll go to the next item, which is Arcadia Cemetery Security Improvement Project update, and Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Paul Smith, Public Services Director, and this is a follow-up presentation. If you recall, I came before you in November to talk about this. This is a budgeted project for this fiscal year, and I hope you'll be receiving this tonight as good news because we've been able to get some improvements included with the competitive bidding that we received. So by way of background, a proposed decorative perimeter fencing project is budgeted for this year, and a conceptual plan was presented to the board last November. The board was supportive of the project, and there was an interest in adding decorative columns along the front side of the cemetery, provided that the pricing is feasible. We recently completed a bid process for the project, received solid interest. There were 10 bids from the industry with competitive pricing. And tonight we're making a recommendation further down on the agenda on the selection of a contractor for furnishing and installing the fence and decorative columns. So what are these additional project features? Well, the competitive pricing has allowed this work to remain within the project budget that we originally set out, and this would include the decorative columns that would be part of the contract that we're asking you to approve later on, and then also lighting on top of the columns. That's not part of the contract. That'd be work that we would complete in-house with our building maintenance staff. This is what the decorative columns would look like. It's a conceptual drawing made of colored concrete block. It looks like stone. This is split face block you've probably seen before. It's a cinder block type of core, but the face of it is rough like stone. There would be a decorative cap that could support the individual lights on top, and these would be approximately 85 feet apart, which would be close enough together to give sort of a stately appearance when you're looking at it from the road, but also keeping it affordable for the city. And then the lighting we would propose for the top would be acorn-style lights, similar to the theme of the decorative lights in other parts of the city. We'll utilize the photocell and energy-efficient bulbs to conserve energy. That way this would automatically come on at dark and turn back off when the sun rises. This will be a decorative feature as part of our newly reconstructed Keystone Road. And again, the work will be completed in-house to minimize costs. I did bring a prop this evening. This is an LED light bulb, and the reason I bring this is what we would use inside those light fixtures. And I looked at the box, and the box tells you how much energy it uses in a year. And it says if you use that light 3 hours a day every day, it would be 96 cents worth of electricity in a whole year, which I think is pretty incredible. And you can see it's pretty bright as well. So that's The benefits of LED don't end there, of course. They last a really long time, and they look pretty tough, too. So that's something we're excited about. So with that, the item is up for your approval a little later on. If you have any questions in the meantime, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
I just say now, I just thank you for bringing in what I think is a great project, not only from a security aspect, but something that's going to enhance the appearance of the cemetery as well as provide needed security. So let's thank you right now for your effort and the rest of staff efforts in bringing this forward. So, Commissioner Tarpon.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, also great. I'm looking forward to the project. What did you say? Could you just reiterate what you said about the light in terms of how much it's going to cost a year?
Yeah, that was running 3 hours a day. It would be 96 cents per year in electricity. And assuming it runs all night, even if you multiply times 4, that's $4 a year per bulb.
And so I think in the backup I saw there's 4,500 feet of fencing?
Right,
okay.
And we've got 11 columns, so that's less than $50 a year in electricity.
11 columns? I thought they were 85 feet apart.
Right, we're just doing it at this point along Keystone.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. Okay, so what did you say here?
$44.
Great, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, I just want to tell you that the people are very glad to see that we're finishing up this project to be able to secure and to beautify our historic cemetery. I'm very glad about that. The question that I have is the conduit that you have next to the column, can that be internal in there? That way you don't have to replace it periodically?
Yes, Commissioner, and if I drew that myself, so I'll take the criticism. That's supposed to be what that represents. It actually goes up inside the column, so you won't see it.
Thank you. During the last presentation, I made the recommendation we should have some kind of landscape on the front. Are you still planning to do that?
I don't have that in the project at this point. My plan was to do that as part of our operating improvements through the year. I just want to get this thing in and see how it looks and then go from there. But we are planning on, as part of the project, doing a nice sod around the outside and sprinkler improvements. The jasmine side will keep that probably bahia type grass because that's just more consistent with what's along that roadside. But the other sides will have an improved Floritam, St. Augustine style grass. So I think it's going to be the beginning of further improvements in the future.
That's going to look nice. Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
Any public comments on this item? Thank you again, Mr. Smith. We will now go to consent agenda. Satisfaction and release of liens, Thompson, Sizemore, Gonzalez, and Hearing, LLP invoice number 68993, and B is invoice number 69072. Special events, Great and Holy Friday, St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Cathedral, that's May 3rd, 2013. B is Beach to Bayou. Helen Ellis Foundation, June 1st to the 13th. 9 is reject all bids submitted for bid number 130039-B-CM, vehicle accessories, general and public safety. 10, renew Pinellas County Cooperative Contract number 090-0092-B, CR Auction Services. 11, renew file number 070061, purchase of library materials. 12 is authorized utilization of City of Clearwater bid number 18-11, purchase of sodium bisulfite. 13, award bid number 130036-B-CM, furnish and install fencing at Cicadia Cemetery. 14 is decrease file number 130002-N-JJ, single source purchase of pumps and repair parts. Myers. 15, renew file number 110067-C-TK uniforms. 16, authorize the execution of statewide municipal aid agreement for emergency management. 17 is authorized execution of agreement with the school board of Pinellas County for ball field lighting. 18 is authorized execution of memorandum of understanding with the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles for data exchange. And Agenda 1 is authorize mayor to sign custodial account agreement for investments from bond proceeds and letter authorizing Regions Bank to communicate directly with PTM Asset Management LLC regarding portfolio investments. Anything anyone would like to pull? If not, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any public comments on any of these items? Roll call.
Mr. Tarpon?
Yes.
Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Flattery?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hooser?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. The next item is special consent item number 19, energy audit implementation. A is award RFQ number 110088-S-JJ guaranteed energy savings performance contract. And B is approved proposed funding of energy improvements. I'll just go ahead and ask my staff to step forward who's involved in this. So if you have any questions, basically again, you heard the presentation. This is a process we've been working on for a while. Again, I think we did due diligence and picked the best company in our mind to do it. I think the report that they gave, obviously I won't admit to having read that whole booklet that you see there, but from the summary and what my experts have been involved in it, they absolutely did a thorough job. And if you were to reject this, just pay them $30,000 for the study, you've got a good bargain for $30,000 because they did an excellent job for us. Obviously, you heard me say that that's not my recommendation. This is a total package deal where we can approve, turn over to them, and have a whole project done with the savings within a 12-month period. I'm not sure we could piecemeal and do it that way. I'm not sure that we can get better prices that way. And I'm definitely sure we won't have a guarantee of that money. So we went through a lot to bring the best company involved, a company approved by the state to do that. And my recommendation is going to be to turn it over to them and within 12 months have all those savings and energy efficiency that you see on there. I've got the people that have worked on it. I also got Paul. He might be sitting out there, but Paul is our guy that as the Budget Advisory Committee, if Mr. Peters were still here, I can assure you, is always looking for additional projects of solar or other things that, as they've said, could be possibly utilized later. So, and Paul regularly reports to them about different things. And we've got some things he'll be bringing to you on some commercial PACE projects and some things he's working on to further involve with energy. But I've got the people involved. I think the main one, even though it's B that you need to hear from, is Eric. Eric, you come up first and talk about B, because obviously the funding of this is probably the most important thing that they want to hear. So if you can explain to them your backup material on the funding of how we're going to do this.
I had the company break it out by building location, and some of them are city parks. And there was, based on the prices that they gave us, when the person from Moresco spoke, said that those are maximum prices. $134,000 would come for the treatment plant. That includes indoor and outdoor lighting and the influent pump that she spoke about. This can be funded internally within the wastewater treatment plant and the utility billing office budgets for the current year. The major cost in everything that was presented that's in one location is the public safety building improvements, and they total almost $480,000. What I was proposing on that is that we fund it through the penny fund as a major building improvement to the public safety building, and that also we do have money available that we could fund it that way. There's $15,500 plus of improvements in lighting out at the golf course.
That also would be funded within that enterprise fund. The balance of the projects are related to general fund. And what I would propose is that we do an interfund loan, interest-free, between the risk management fund, and that's the fund that we set up back in 1996, and we use it for self-insurance of insurance claims. There is money that's available in there that could be used. That would be approximately $601,000 to cover all those improvements. Based on the schedule that the contractor had in their proposal, it would give us a return on the investment within approximately 7 years. So each year the money that was to be saved in the general fund, they would use that to pay back the other fund. That's what I came up with. And one of the reasons is I do not feel comfortable with the idea of us doing any kind of outside funding for this project because of the long payback. If we do anything that's more than 10 years, we have to go to referendum. And if we do it internally, it would save, I think it's over $300,000 in interest costs. So that's why I proposed that funding is the way I said.
Just looking at the penny for Pinellas, is that going to impact us as far as any of the capital improvement projects that we have scheduled, or is there an opportunity to look at some of the cost savings in terms of that being going back into that fund or being used for capital items?
In the penny fund?
Yes, we're talking about the utilization of the $479,976 being paid for with local option and the penny fund. And I'm just saying if that's going to impact us in relationship to any of the items that we are looking at.
No, there is money that is available that's in excess of what we've got budgeted for this year and next year.
And this would not exclude us. It would also not exclude us for adding, for instance, sometimes you worry about going into penny money because now you say, well, if we find a project we're looking at in the budget time that we can't do it now. That's not going to be the case. We would still have money that we would be able to add projects from what you've seen the list of what we had projected. It will not only not affect any of those projects and have them stop for future years, but we would still have some funds available if there were some additional projects we wanted to add to that penny for the upcoming budgeting year. So it won't impact. It's not going to impact any of you that want in the budget time coming up maybe have some additional projects, and there are some that we will have.
Commissioner Tarpon? Thank you. Ms. Walker, if we use this $480,000 out of the penny fund, with what we already have slated using penny money, where would that leave our balance?
About $1.4 million at the end of the year if we spent everything that was in the budget for 2013.
Including this, we'd have 1.4. Including using this?
Yes.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit about how the regulations that are in place on how we spend the penny money?
The penny money has to be spent on capital improvements that have a life of 5 years or more.
Okay. And you talked a little bit about the possibility of financing this project. Is it at all possible to finance, let's say, a portion of it, given that there's a guaranteed rate of return in order to service that debt?
I don't feel comfortable doing that at this point in time. We're just signing the paperwork on the outstanding bond issue, and when you look at the city as a whole, that's a lot of debt. So I would like to recommend that we don't do outside funding for things that could be handled internally.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Walker, for explaining how this is being, the funds are being allocated. But I like the idea that we're funding in-house. If we are capable of, and you're comfortable with that, we're not out going looking out for money somewhere else, borrowing money anywhere. I think this is a good idea. And though I do have, I'm still kind of disappointed that we can't use solar at this point or look into solar, but hopefully in the future we can, because we do live in a sunshine state and we should be relying on but again, you're the experts, so hopefully that can be relooked at. But again, to this issue with the financing, I think if we can finance in-house and you're comfortable with that and we're not jeopardizing our penny for Pinellas monies or anything, I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Just for an example, Paul, can you come up? Just for an example, I want Paul to tell you about a project, whereas again, we're saying that in the future stuff, tell them about the one small solar project that is still a beginning of solar that you've already worked on and that you presented to the committee.
Yes, we're working in-house to do some solar. We want to do pilot projects, something to get our hands on these panels with our staff, our electrical staff, and start to work with it. So we're going to do some rooftop solar over at the treatment plant. These are smaller projects, things that we can do within our operational budget, but our plan is to get more sophisticated with it and start to look for opportunities to make a larger scale investment for the city. So that's certainly something that has our interest as staff to further that. We certainly understand what the experts are saying about the economics. We're going to keep talking with Progress Energy. They have grants programs that could bring it from way out there of not being feasible to possibly feasible. So that's what we're looking to do.
Vice Chair?
Thank you. Ms. Walker, the golf course is going to be, which is $15,000, and the general fund related location, $601,000 will be funded with an interest-free loan from the risk management fund. That's a very creative way of doing it. Can you please tell me what money is going to be left in case of SN if we're going to need this fund? I know you feel comfortable in order for you to introduce that. You must feel very comfortable with that. But can you tell us exactly what monies will be left for risk management?
The two projects that would be funded out of the water and sewer fund, I spoke with both supervisors, and they say that the true savings that they've had on other projects, in the case of the wastewater treatment plant and the utility billing meter reader office, I spoke with the supervisor, and she said that there was a change that she was going to be doing in something that had been budgeted, that she can do it at a lower cost, and she can come up with the money to pay for the lighting in her area.
I think he's mainly the risk management.
The risk management.
The risk management portion.
The risk management fund, there's about $2.1 million in there right now that is over and above what we need to cover our stop loss, and the money that we're funding so that during the budget process we were funding a lesser percent charging out to the departments throughout the city, and because we have this money that's built up in the risk management fund, we cut back on the departments, and we had cash carryover budgeted in there to pay the insurance premiums and cover the stop loss. So there is money available in there.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Mr. Lawson?
Thank you. Excuse me. I'm hoping to get clarification on a couple things related to the contract. I'm not sure if Mr. Jackus or who would be best to answer these. I know in the In the memo, it states, Amerisco has formulated and provided a guarantee that the energy savings will meet or exceed costs of ECMs, and the cost savings will meet or exceed the not-to-exceed amount. And then it goes on to say, should there be a shortfall in the guaranteed energy savings, Amerisco will be liable for the shortfall and must reimburse the city. Could you do me a favor and just kind of re-explain the length of the contract and when the guarantees are in place? We didn't have a copy of the contract in our backup.
The contract's not completed yet. We normally do that after approval, typically.
Okay, what will the length of the contract be? Because I heard some different figures. There was talk that within 7 years we would recoup all of the expenses. Is it a 7-year contract that we're envisioning, or is it actually? Because I also heard that it can't be longer than a 20-year contract due to state law. I'm not sure what it is we're agreeing to.
The energy savings, we realize the payback in 11 years, but because of the internal funding, the funding portion of it will only be for 7 years. We'll pay it back in 7 years. Isn't that correct?
So the contract would be for 11 years.
Correct.
And I thought I heard mention of some kind of annual checkup and some kind of an annual guarantee, and I'd like to get clarification on what that was.
Thank you so much. And I failed to introduce myself, but it's Tracy Galentine with Amoresco. So thank you. We are required by Florida Statute 49.145 to provide an annual reconciliation and to document and prove to you that those energy savings are being met. So it will be on an annual basis, and there is a line item that does show the measurement and verification that we will expend at least every year to document that for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the contract is for 11 years, not 20 years.
That's correct. 20 years is the maximum term that the statute allows.
Okay. If there are no other questions, Commissioner Tarpon?
Ma'am? And what you just said, annually, when you check it up, that's where you'll determine if there is a difference, and in which case, if there is, you'll pay for it.
Thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Any public comments on this item?
Peter Lacus, 514 Ashland Avenue. As I said before, I think this is a very good thing to move forward. My only concern would be that now that you have an internal auditor on file for a consultant, one of the options you would have is every so often double check their reports and verify what they're saying is saved is actually what's saved, because not to undermine their honesty or integrity, but if they're going to have to pay you back for savings, I want to make sure it's exactly what it should be and not under or overstated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Robowski, 1602 Gulf Beach Boulevard, Tarpon Springs, 34689. Glad to hear that you are doing these pilot studies, these independent solar issues. I think that that's the way to go. Do this whole thing as you can now, of course, pass this one today, and then go through one at a time. Again, with the lift stations, that can be done one at a time. You don't have to do them all at once. And you could be the first city to start that if it hasn't been done yet. It'd be very cool to do. It's basically getting a very efficient DC motor and having it run on a solar panel. The solar panel will be very small, so it'll also be very inexpensive, right? And that will only run during the day. Now, if at any point throughout the day that it screws up, it will switch back to the original pump. You got that? So there won't be any problem. You understand what I'm saying? And that original pump will still run at night. Those are very inefficient pumps. However, they're very reliable. So you would not want to remove them. You would just want to supplement them with these cheaper systems. And as you know, the rates are higher through the daytime, and they run more throughout the day. So that's what I was proposing before. And I ran this past an engineer in Tampa a couple of years ago, and he looked at the electric bill for Tarpon, which should be required reading for every elected official in here. I bet you haven't seen it. It should be required reading, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that, whoa, that seems a little bit high, right? And then each time you look at it, you can start to notice other things that you can nibble away at. That's exactly the right approach. Thank you very much.
There are no other public comments. Roll call.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to comment on that.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Thank you. I'd just like to say that I do support the energy conservation program. I think we should make the improvements to the buildings, to the city buildings, to the infrastructure, and bring efficiency to our network. But I do not agree the process that we're using today to give a contract without it being a compatible bidding process. So I am against that. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Terrapin?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Slatter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Alhuza?
No.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Next item that we'll have is item number 20, award bid number 130032-B-JJ Craig Park Seawall Rehabilitation Phase 4. Where do you go? Mr. Function. Your seawall.
His birthday, come on.
It is.
I apologize. Tom Funch, Public Works Director. This is repair work that is required on the one section on the northwest corner of the seawall where Canal Street comes onto Riverside. We also had two other failures. One just west of the War Memorial. We had about a 30-foot section that collapsed about a month and a half ago. And we also had another section over there, approximately 120, I believe, Riverside Drive that failed, about another 45-foot section that needs a repair. This has gone out competitive bid, and we're recommending award of the contract.
Any questions for Mr. Function or Mr. Tarpon?
Mr. Function, this doesn't have anything to do with the city dock at the end of Tarpon Avenue?
No, sir.
And then you mentioned the seawall replacement or rehabilitation by Canal Street.
Yes.
Is there anything being done there in relation to drainage?
Yes, there will be a drainage portion on that over there. There will be some new storm drain and new drain pipe going out to the wall.
Thank you.
There are no additional questions. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any public comments on this item? Roll call.
Commissioner Terrapin?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Slatter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Alhuza?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 21, approve change order number 1 to bid number 120109-B-JJ North Stafford Avenue Recreation Corridor.
Good evening, Paul Smith, Public Services Director. Tonight we're recommending approving change order number 1 to the contract with Augustine Construction, Inc. for the North Stafford Avenue Recreation Corridor, increasing the contract amount from $874,306 to $1.227994 million, an increase of $353,687. In a brief summary, during the process of removing the invasive tree species from the wetland area, the existing soil conditions were deemed to be unsuitable to sustain growth of the proposed plantings, and therefore the soils must be excavated, disposed, and replaced. This will all be completed using stormwater funds, so it won't impact the penny or the other project funds. And it's truly a situation where when you discover something, there really is only one right thing to do, and that's to take the soils to a facility that is permitted to receive such soils, and that's what we're recommending we do.
The question I would just have is there going to be any impact as far as the stormwater, using stormwater funds as far as our plan in terms of projects that we have scheduled?
Yes, there will be an impact. I want to make sure I emphasize we're talking about delaying some things, not canceling projects, but postponing projects for a fiscal year. I mean, that corresponds to approximately a fiscal year's worth of capital improvements funding for stormwater, so it'll push things back. So, yeah, that is a reality.
Will any of that come back for us to see for us prioritization, just to make sure that what we looked at, I guess, before, we have some knowledge of what's happening as we go forward?
Yes, we can certainly. This will be all following the approved stormwater action plan, but we'll be bringing that back for an update for you, and we can show you how that, affects the flow of things. And if you see some other priority that you would rather elevate, we can accommodate that.
And again, this is the good news, bad news. Obviously, the bad news is the cost and the stormwater, but I can guarantee you if we knew in the priorities to deal with this system that's right on the trail, right on our corridor, I can guarantee you that would have been one of the top priorities to get that cleaned up, especially since it's near our park, near the new North Stafford, as you see, taking form, the new sidewalks and everything going along there. We have a very nice park going to be there, and to have this right next to it, it would be a substantial project, and environmentally and everything else, it is a very positive project for the environment. And yes, it's going to cost, but it's well worth the cost. And I'm sure that would have been up the priority of your list. If it would have been a known case, it would have been right up there at the beginning, doing it immediately to clear that up. So.
Yeah, I'd like to say, too, we realize this is a significant amount of money, and from the beginning we've been working to minimize the cost. Just some examples of things. We're using our own city fill to backfill it so we avoid that expense. We independently verified quantities to make sure we weren't being overcharged for this quantity sort of thing. We worked with the regulators to make sure we did the required amount, but not any more in terms of the disposal. So these are all things that staff has actively been working on to keep the cost to a minimum. And one more thing, I know it's hard to feel good about this, but I will say I went back and looked at the original bids. And if we approve this change order, this puts us right back to the average bids that we received originally for this project. So for what that's worth, I do want to credit our bidding process and the purchasing department for getting us that original very low price bid that allowed us to have a significant change order and still be in the ballpark of the original amount.
Just another question. What's the estimated time with this as far as completion of the total project?
I understand 30 days is the estimate. Extra time, basically, to do this.
So, but just this, and then with the other things that we have planned, what time frame are we looking at for completion of that?
For the rest of the project?
Right.
I still believe we'll be in the summer time frame. The engineering division is managing the project, but in my last conversation, I understood summer was still a reasonable completion time for the south parcel.
Okay. I'm going to look this way. I'm kind of right-handed, so I look. Commissioner Tarpon.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank you for raising the stormwater issue, Mayor. I think that's something that me personally, as a commissioner, that's what I hear a lot from members of the public is the stormwater issues that we have, and we do have a lot of issues. And there's always people jockeying to try and up a project that's important to them. That said, as I go through the backup and I look at the proposed change order from Augustine Construction, and I called Mr. Function about this afternoon. I didn't realize that this was your project, Mr. Smith. If y'all wouldn't mind looking at that page of the bid for the change order, there's some of the things that I'd like to look at from an in-house perspective. especially in terms of, the location of the dirt and operating an excavator. Mr. Function made me aware that we do, in fact, have a piece of equipment that's an excavator within our fleet. And it's not going to save us the whole sum of $300,000 and some, but I think that there is a cost saving that would be somewhere around $100,000 if we could potentially use some city crews and use our own equipment. It's just an idea, especially now recognizing that our stormwater fund is going to be impacted. But I wanted to bring it to y'all's attention as it was an idea that I had. So if you look at item number 4 through 7, the excavation portion and stockpiling of the contaminated sediment on the site for drying, all the way down to 7, using our own excavator to do that, moving the clean fill that the city owns basically on the north portion of this project into some trucks and bringing it to the south portion. So, that from 4 to 7, that totals about $114,000. Are we going to be able to totally save $114,000? Probably not, especially when you look at, our staff time. But with keeping in mind that our stormwater funds and projects are going to be impacted, I think it's something that, as a commission, myself, I'd like to at least see a proposal if we can tackle some of this in-house and save some money.
Mr. Funch, you come up because I don't quite see, unless you want some of your other projects postponed, I don't quite see where it is, but he can talk about that.
Mr. Tavares is right as far as that's only an excavator over here, but like any other piece of equipment, it has to be job specific over here. Our excavator could not possibly move. It can move a few hundred yards material a day. But when you're talking about approximately 8,000 tons, I believe, it wouldn't be financially feasible to put a crew out there moving that amount of dirt with that size piece of equipment. It's just not efficient. So can we move some dirt in the house? Yes, but not at this volume here efficiently. There's no way we could do it.
Well, one of the things is that I understand where Commissioner Tarpon is, and I would look to staff and your wisdom in terms of what we can do in-house and what we have to do, using individuals outside of our workforce. One of the things is that, as we continue to move forward, I just want to emphasize the importance of our stormwater plan. And when I talk to residents, nobody is concerned. Right now, we don't get any complaints. But as soon as it starts raining, I know one person that's going to get a lot of complaints. And it's not a sexy item, in terms of what we have to do. Nobody notices until there's a need. So I just want us to continue to look at the importance of that. This is an important project to us, and I can support us moving forward with it, but I do understand what he's talking about in terms of when we can use in-house staff, and I think we do a good job of that, of trying to utilize that staff to defray any costs, and if there are any costs that you might see at some point in time that we could lower this, that effort would definitely be appreciated. Any other comments? Any public comments on this item?
Here to like 514 Ashland Avenue. My curiosity comes from where it says in the backup, the existing soil conditions were deemed to be unsuitable to sustain growth of the proposed plantings and therefore must be excavated, disposed, and replaced. Unsuitable. Does that mean the soil's weak? Does it just need fertilizer, some augmentation, or unsuitable because it's contaminated? That's my concern. Because then, if it's not contaminated, why does it have to be hauled off and paid for to be gotten rid of as compared to just moving the dry drain soil on the north side, and as you do that, put this quote-unquote wet old soil where you remove the other and let that drain and dry, because that soil that's out there you're using is from dredging. So my curiosity is what deems the soil that's there unsuitable. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments on this item? Any other comments that, Commissioner Tarpon?
Thank you. I'll just say, Mayor, that I've supported this, park enhancement and beautification project from the get-go. But I think to postpone any stormwater projects and approve this change order, I can't support that. I think the stormwater projects are too important to this community.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
There's a second on this item?
Motion done.
Let me ask a question.
Yes, you may.
If we don't pass this evening, what's the next step?
Well, if the change order is approved, that essentially stops that portion of the project. And I would just caution you that if we go back to the original project, which is to put in a park for the public to use, and then we have this adjacent area that's unfinished with concern about the suitability of the soils, I just don't think that's going to put the city in a good position. What I can tell you we will do is whatever we can to keep the stormwater action plan on pace. And we'll work with you to come up with an acceptable solution. I think it's that important to finish this. So my recommendation to you is this is a very important project to finish. Otherwise, we really can't finish the project as it is.
And again, I'll be more blunter because I'm using the blunt one. You're not only going to stop the park project, but you're going to have to do it anyway because we've got to clean up that and clean up the environment and soil anyway. So you're going to stop the park project, and then we're going to have to go out to bid and do that portion of the project anyway, and then we'll be in problems with our contract with the park, which will probably be going awry. So there'll be a whole lot of confusion, delay, and you'll have to spend the money anyway.
Is there another? I'm sorry, man.
Now, if I might just say, to me, I look at this as being caught between a rock and a hard place, and it's one of these things whereas I definitely understand, wanting to move forward with the stormwater project, and what I would look at is that at budget time, we look at whatever additional funds that we can put in place that might look at supplement some of the things that we need to get done. But I understand where the city manager is at. No matter whether we move forward with this at this point in time, this is going to be a situation that we need to address. It's one thing to have a situation and not actually have knowledge of. It's another thing to have knowledge of a situation. And to me, it's one that it's unfortunate that it's here, but by the same token, I would urge us to look at how we can move forward, how we can ask staff that they would bring back those projects, how can we look at doing whatever to get back on track for the stormwater is concerned, because it is very, very important as we move ahead in terms of certain areas of our city that we know has drainage problems. So.
And maybe it's confusing, but Mr. Smith can verify. It's not going to stop any projects we've got going now. The list, you see already the Walton project that's going on. Distant is getting ready to start. The major number 1, 2, and 3 concerns that we're going to be dealing with the next 2 or 3 years, that's not going to affect on those. That may have a problem with some of the smaller projects that's towards the 4th and the 5th year of the stormwater program. And like you said, if there's some way we need to figure out to get that money back in there to do those projects, then we find another way to get those back in there. But as far as your immediate main concerns of Walton, Distant, and what was the third one, to the area over on this side of City Hall, the 3 major areas that was our top 3 priorities, is not going to slow those projects up. It may slow some of our smaller ones in the 4th or 5th year. And again, we'll have some years to if we want to keep those on track, we'll need to find other sources of money to keep those going.
And we'll continue to do in-house things. You know, we saved a significant amount of money on the Walton Avenue project by getting that in-house. I don't know if you've been by there. It's a top-notch project, and I think we saved an order of over $50,000. So if we keep that sort of thing up, that's another way we can make up this as we go along.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Is there another funding source that we could look at to fund this change order? And then if that was the case, then I wouldn't have an issue. My issue is obviously with the stormwater action plan. So if there's a way to potentially defer this item until our next meeting, and give staff some time to allocate funds from a different account or a different fund, that would be something that I would look for as a compromise to make sure this remains on track.
Again, I'm not so sure that's a better, as I said, with the stormwater thing, it's something we can find money, and, that's something we have to worry about 4 or 5 years. If we take money from another source, that's something we're going to have to worry about the money now. So I'd rather assure you we will try with our efficiencies, and I guess we're already $50,000 in the plus, so the other $250,000 or $280,000 to try to commit to you, we'll try to have that made up by the time it affects the project, other than taking away a project right now.
It is a stormwater treatment feature of the project. It is an appropriate use of those funds. That is the most appropriate use of the stormwater funds on this project.
Commissioner Larson.
Thank you. I'm just looking over again the background on the memo. It says that the soil must be excavated, disposed, and replaced. If we end up not approving the agenda item, what are the ramifications? It sounds like the soil needs to be disposed of anyway. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
I'll second the motion.
And what I would look for as we move forward is that you bring that back to us so that we can look at that and we can try to make whatever adjustments we need to make sure our projects are on track.
Yeah, it usually comes back to you within the April, May, June, July before the budget process. That'll come in the beginning. That'll be one of the things that we brought back to you to look at, and maybe within that we'll try to have some ideas of where we're going to be able to make that money, and maybe not delay them by the time we bring that back to them in a couple months as we enter the budget process. We'll work on that and bring that back to you. Okay.
Roll call.
Mr. Terrapini?
No.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hooser?
Yes.
Mayor Archer?
Yes. The next item that we have is item number 22, request to settle administrative final lien 1511 Stonehaven Way, a code enforcement case number 08-00000419.
Thank you. My report mistakenly indicates that this request was submitted by Mr. Damian Akis as attorney for the Hendricks Family Trust. He's really attorney for Mr. and Mrs. John Stout, sorry, another mistake. The violation occurred in 2008. The property was overgrown. It was on March 11, 2008. The Santa used the usual procedures of notifying and attempting to correct. She finally issued a notice for hearing in May of 2008, and on that occasion she observed a for sale sign on the property. In May 2008, the Code Enforcement Board found the property owner in violation and gave the owner, which she assumed, which was at that time the Hendrick Family Trust number 1511, until June 10th to remedy the condition of the property, or face a $25 a day fine. It was not remedied. The fine went into effect. In mid-August, she discovered a tenant on the property. I guess she discussed with him what was wrong, and then on August 25th, there was partial compliance, and she re-inspected on September 2nd, 2008. The property was in compliance, and she issued an affidavit of compliance. Based upon Mr. Damianakis' letter, it appears that his clients, Mr. and Mrs. John Stout, sold the property to the Hendrick Family Trust and took back a mortgage Sir, if
You might,
you had a
sir.
chance to submit something, but, and took back a mortgage, it looks like the Stouts filed a foreclosure action against the trust in 2007. They didn't receive a certificate of title until August 4th, 2010, so the violation occurred while the property was owned or under the control of the Hendrick Family Trust. According to the property appraiser's office, the Stouts have since sold the property to another trust, or another trust has taken control of the property. And this sale occurred on June 27, 2012. And again, according to the property appraiser's website, that sale price was $50,000. This property is located at 1511 Stonehaven Way in Tarpon Springs. The amount of the lien is $2,075 plus a $10 clerk satisfaction fee. The amount offered to settle the fine or lien is $500. Mr. Damianakis argues that his client had no implication or complicity in the lien and that his client cured the problem. Mr. Damianakis claims that the Office of City Clerk represented to his client that $500 would be accepted by the city in settlement of the lien. I don't know whether this actually occurred, but I doubt it. The clerk's office is very familiar with the process for settling liens. We refer people to my office all the time. Regardless, any such representation is not binding on the city. The administrative costs incurred are $568.50. The Stouts did not avail themselves of an opportunity, or the Hendrick Family Trust at least. Whoever was in control of the property when the property came in compliance did not avail themselves of an opportunity to petition the Code Enforcement Board for a reduction of fine. In going through the criteria that I'm required to consider, the only information I have regarding the financial circumstances of the Stouts is Mr. Damianakis' statement that they were forced to take a loss on their financial loan to the previous owner. I have no information to demonstrate one way or the other whether the payment of fine creates or would have created demonstrable hardship. I recommend that the board offer to settle this lien for $1,000 plus administrative costs for a total settlement offer of $1,568.50. And I recommend that the Stouts be given 90 days to accept the offer and pay the settlement amount, failing which the lien would revert to its original amount. I'm assuming these people are the Stouts, and if you care to hear from them, it's your option.
What I'll do is first see what my colleagues think in terms of what's being proposed, or do you need some more information? These are always those unfortunate things that we have to deal with. Anybody have any thoughts or need any additional information from the Stouts? I appreciate that, sir, but what our rules are with this is that there is no room for you to speak unless my colleagues deem it appropriate that you might have some information that would help them in their... Okay, and I see Commissioner Tarpon nodding his head that he might need some more information. My other colleagues are smiling, so I'll give you a few minutes to try to give us what you think is important in terms of making some type of decision here.
Let me just say that I notify everyone when I generate this report that they have an opportunity to submit a letter responding to the report and pointing out any errors.
My assumption is that you're going to tell us what that letter says. Yes. If you take here a few minutes, and if you would like to.
At no time did I own the property. I lent Hendrick's Trust the money for a mortgage. I I did not sell the property to them. When they stopped paying, I also found out that they owed $10,000 in back taxes, which I had to pay because they were going to sell it for taxes. They took almost 2 years to close this property so I could repossess it. And it cost me about $6,000 to do that. I then had to pay taxes, and I've always had to pay the water and sewer bill, even though I never collected a penny of rent or anything else from that property. When I took the property back, I had to spend money to buy a new stove because they had removed it. I had to put air work. I had to pay to get the electric on. There had to be something repaired, and I had to pay for that. I've lost approximately 30-some odd thousand on this property. It was a big part of my retirement income. We didn't have the money. I'm 80, she's 79. We don't have a way to recover this kind of money. We don't have a way to go back and make this right. I made a bad investment. I'm just asking that you don't make it any worse than I did. I never had control to be able to make a line get cut or anything else. Finally, when I took over the property, there was a sofa and chair and everything else in the yard, and it hadn't been cut now. At that time, I had everything taken care of because the court gave me the property back. But there's so much that I've spent on this and had no return on. I'm really hurting on this piece of property, and I'm just asking if you can give me some consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have a recommendation from the attorney as far as the $1,568.50. I think that we have $568.50 that's there. I just put that out there in terms of what you feel like is a fine that you might want to put in place or accept the recommendation.
Mr. Mayor, I sympathize with Mr. Stewart by saying the right, sir. Stout. He made a bad investment, and he was not involved in the lien at all. He was not the person who caused this problem. But the city has invested $568.50. So I will suggest that we recover the cost of the city, the $568.50.
I second that.
That's a motion.
Yes, it's a motion.
And I'll second. Any discussion on that?
I would just say to Mr. Stout, I sympathize for you as well, but unfortunately, thousands of people are in the same, if not more than hundreds of thousands of people are in the same boat that you are. So we see these on a daily basis. So I think to settle for what we have into it is taking your hardship into consideration.
With that,
Can I just clarify, is there a time frame for payment?
I think that the recommendation is 90 days to accept the offer and to make the payment. So I see him nodding, so I think that would be acceptable.
Commissioner Tarpon?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Alhuza?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Yes, sir. Ordinance and resolution, item number 23 is deferred. Item number 24, ordinance 2013-05, adoption of the 2012 International Property Maintenance Code, first reading.
Ordinance 2013-05, an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending Chapter 9 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tarpon Springs by adopting the 2012 International Property Maintenance Code. providing for amendments to the 2012 International Property Maintenance Code, providing for applicability, repeal or severability, and effective date. That's the first reading of ordinance 2013-05 by title only. The second reading will be held on March 19th, 2013, and the ordinance will be published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on March 8th, 2013.
Good evening. The item you have before you this evening, the first reading of ordinance 2013-05, is essentially what's probably akin to more of a housekeeping item. We have Chapter 9 of our our Code of Ordinances adopts our housing standards. At the moment, we adopt an outdated standard that is no longer published. So this ordinance proposes to adopt the International Property Maintenance Code, which is the same company that publishes the Florida Building Code, same code council. And essentially that's what it's designed to do. You adopt it locally and you simply insert in the local specific standards, the jurisdiction name, and there's 8 items in which you insert into the code for local adoption. And enforcement, I've done that, and I've provided you the full text of each of those 8 sections so you could read them in entirety with the inserts as they've been laid out in the ordinance. I'll be glad to answer any questions about either the code or the process of adoption if you have any.
Are there any questions from Mr. Tarpon? We're on the bike, ma'am. You have to move really fast. Sorry about that. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm okay with that.
That's cool. Any public comments on this item? Chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Flannery?
Yes.
Vice Mayor LaHousas?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. The next item that we have is item number 25, ordinance 2013-06, adoption of local business tax regulation pursuant to legislative changes to Chapter 205 Florida statutes. First reading. Yes, sir.
Ordinance 2013-06, an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending Chapter 11 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tarpon Springs by amending the title of Chapter 11 by amending Article 1 to adopt revised regulations for local business tax receipts consistent with state legislation, providing for applicability, repealer, severability, and effective date. The second reading will be held on March 19, 2013, and it will be published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on March 8, 2013. That's the first reading of ordinance 213-06 by title only.
Yes, sir.
Again, this ordinance, much like the previous one you just adopted, is somewhat of a housekeeping item. The state has made a number of changes to the statute that regulates local business taxes, formerly referred to as occupational licenses. And that name in and of itself will tell you some of the main differences in the way the legislation is written. The term license was completely removed. The term of license fee was completely removed. This is what it's always intended to be, which is a local business tax, and when you gain one, you get a local business tax receipt, or simply referred to as a receipt. What we've done is we've taken Chapter 11 of the Code of Ordinances and coordinated it with the Florida statute, Chapter 205. Much of what you see in the ordinance is verbatim out of the statute. It is important to note that there is the classification schedules, the tax schedule you'll see in the draft ordinance is not changed from the way it is currently. To make those changes, that's a separate process, independent of what we're asking to do this evening. So the fee schedule, as it's called currently, the tax schedule as it's being proposed, has not changed. Essentially, the language itself is what's changed, and it's again done to coordinate with the Florida statutes and those changes that have been made. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have as well.
Are there any questions? Vice Mayor.
The question that I have is the rate structure. How often do we revisit that to see if we are compatible to the surrounding cities?
There's no requirement to visit at any particular interval. It's certainly at the pleasure of the board. I believe it's been quite some time since the fee schedule has been amended, So that's something we certainly could look at. We're not statutorily obligated to do it biannually or every 5 years. It is really a local specific criteria that you can look at as often as you like. Some communities perhaps do it every other year. Maybe I've seen some that haven't touched it in some period of time.
It would be nice to see how we stand in compared to the other cities.
I mean, I can tell you just from my experiences, I would say our fee schedule is fairly similar to neighboring communities.
Thank you.
Did you say when was the last time we did it?
Mayor, I believe the fee schedules were last adjusted using the process of the Equity Study Commission. I want to say probably in the mid-'90s. It's been some time.
Mid-'90s.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any public comments on this item?
Tim Kafalis, 205 Leafwood Road. I don't dispute that you have to address the Chapter 205, but I just want to know, first of all, I'm going to have to ask some questions you can answer after I go sit down. Here's copies. I did a little research. Would you pass that down, please, Chief? And my questions are this, and you'll see them on there. We understand that you have to make a change. I understand. What you're changing are some of the businesses that are exempt. And I want to point out to you that one of the issues is enterprise zones. I called twice today to the city, and I understand we don't have enterprise zones according to what I was told by staff, or they weren't aware of what they were. Okay? While you're correcting the business license ordinance, you're continuing, which I understand the rates haven't been changed. The artists and photographers, if they're in a permanent place of business, they'll pay $51.25. If they're in a temporary place of business, artists and photographers have to pay $153.75. The state law requires you now to not charge real estate brokers and mobile home setup crews, or Girl Scouts, which is good. But we're charging people. We're trying to invite artists and photographers to come here and show our town, and we're trying to become a art-friendly neighborhood. While you're addressing this, why don't you address the fees? You shouldn't be charging $153 for artists to come here and do artwork, which is in the fee now and which will still be in the fee later. If you're going to make adjustments, I would suggest that you should do it throughout the whole thing and not just to put 205 and to make the exemptions that are shown in there. I don't know. In my backup that I got, it does not show 205. I looked it up online, the state statute 205, and those are the issues that you're going to change. And I would really like to see you address all the other ones as well while you're doing this. This could wait till next time and next meeting, and maybe you could come up with a way to reduce the rates for some of those. We are trying to streamline permitting. We're trying to streamline bringing businesses to Tarpon. This would be a good way to maybe review this at this time before you move forward exempting other businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? One thing I just would ask Mr. DePasqua is that when there's time just to look at our fee structure, since it's been since probably the 90s to see, I would just think that they will be rather low than high since it's been a while. And one thing I'll say to anyone is I wouldn't want to arbitrarily look at one and move that and the rest of it. We're here for one order of business, and if we want to look at that structure all the way around, then we should maybe give direction to staff in terms of doing that. But
if I could, I just wanted to point out the reason it's brought to you without the fee structure, as I mentioned in the backup, is you have to put an equity study commission together. They have to study the entire rate structure. That's statutorily set, and that's not something that can be accomplished in a 2-week period, for example. And when it was done in 1995, I believe they invited business owners who were appointed by our board to sit on that, look at each individual category. As you can see, there's about 15 pages of categories. That's something that's fairly comprehensive, and certainly we can look at doing that if that's the will of the board. I can bring you back a proposal for putting that together, and certainly I would agree it's been some time. But tonight is really to try to get the text in order, so then when we do have a rate structure that's in line, we have an ordinance that is complete and up to date.
I guess my suggestion is maybe to look at some of the other cities, just to do a general comparison to think in terms of whether you believe that it's necessary that we go through that and do it.
I could do that, absolutely.
We have a motion?
Move approval. Or do we have a motion on the floor?
She said we already have one.
We got two.
Roll call.
Commissioner Tarpon?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Flannery? Yes. Vice Mayor Alhuzi?
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. The next item we have is, excuse me, number 26, ordinance 2013-09, moratorium on receipt of applications for conditional and permitted uses of kiosks and outdoor marketing buildings. This is the first reading.
Ordinance 2013-04, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, establishing a moratorium on the receipt of applications for the conditional and permitted uses of kiosks and outdoor market buildings as provided for and defined in the Community Redevelopment Area and Sponge Dock Smart Code for a period of 180 days, directing the city administration to submit recommendations for new development regulations and providing for an effective date. That's the first reading of ordinance 2013-04. Second reading will be held on March 19th, 2013. This was published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on February 22nd and March 8th. That doesn't make any sense. 2013. This will be published, I guess. It was published on February 22nd and will be published on March 8th, 2013. And by way of explanation, in doing some additional research into moratoriums, I came across kind of obscure case that says that moratoria or moratorium have to be enacted with the same procedures as land development regulations that affect more than 5% of the land, which requires a certain period between readings and some additional notice that's not required for a normal ordinance. So that's why we're doing first reading of it, because it was now been advertised properly.
Okay. Any questions for Yakubon? Any public comments on this item? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Tarpon?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Flannery? Yes. Vice Mayor Alhuzi?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. The next item that we have is miscellaneous, number 27, discussion special events. This matter.
In order to try to work on keeping as much harmony as can be expected in this town on special events and the special event issue, one of the things as a result from our several meetings that I had everybody who's involved in events do is to look at this upcoming calendar year so that we could have a projection. And again, this is not completely set in stone. Maybe some of the October events might move by a week. One could possibly go out or whatever. But as of right now, this is our best estimate of what events that are going to happen during the year. The front pages are the important pages because the front page tells you a number of facts. The schedule behind it is all the events we know of as of right now, but your important page is the front event to what affects the blocking of roads and businesses downtown and the docks. And as you can see, I broke it down to city events that the city itself is doing, downtown chamber merchants events, those are the events that affect Tarpon Avenue, and the Sponge Docks merchants event that happen on the docks. We got a lot of wild numbers in our meetings. I think there were some counts. As time goes by, counts seem to change. So there were some wild numbers about how many days streets are blocked off. This shows you that as of now, with all three entities that made the event, and I will I will quantify that with the fact that it does not include Night of the Islands. Night of the Islands does not close down the whole docks, it's just the center. It does not include that. The people who are opposed to events have said that Night of the Islands are not in the equation, so that's not in there. And of course, some of the parades, the MLK parade, parades aren't in there that close the road for a short period of time while the parade goes and opens up again. But as of right now, there will be 11 days affected for the downtown and 14 days affected for the docks. Of those ones for the downtown, at least 6 of those are going to be evening events where the roads hopefully will be able to kept open to 2. There may be an event or 2 depending on setup that it may have to go to 1 early, but we are trying, I've told everybody, let's try to keep it that we can set up and prepare for these evening events, at least keep the road open to 2 so the businesses that are affected would have all the morning and into the afternoon to be affected. So you see, out of those 11, 6 of those are only going to affect probably after 2, maybe 1 or 2 after 1 o'clock, but they would have the whole morning open for that. On the docks, it's composed of their normal 4 arts and crafts festivals, and then 2 new events that they are looking at, a Greek festival right now, Upa Palooza, the name, might not be the name when it gets to it, but it's just again, they're coming up with the ideas for the year, and to try to bring back a seafood festival, which if everybody can remember the old seafood festival, when I talk about impact events, that we want to do quality and impact events as opposed to, especially when we're going to close the street. If anybody remembers the old seafood festival at the docks, they were tremendous in bringing people, tremendous events. So the attempt possibly in November to try to recreate the seafood festivals. So right now, this is something that we can hand out to all the business owners, all the people that are concerned about events. We can give them a time frame. All these, I say January and March, the actual tentative dates are in the document that's behind it. So they can be shown and plan ahead of time that these right now are the events. As you can see with the number of days on each, there may be room for some more to come in. And the fact that if new ones come in, we can kind of scrutinize any new events that come in besides these as the effect downtown. But I think everybody's tried to compose events with a concern for those who are affected by events. And I think, as you can see now, we do have a minimal number of days that they'll be affected. Again, they'll have close to the whole year's notice to try to plan for those that are affected. Hopefully we can encourage those who are affected to utilize the event. For instance, if you have a business, whatever the business may be, there is a way during these festivals to promote your business. We've given that opportunity. For instance, the food truck rallies, for instance, any of the local restaurants that are affected are allowed to come out and participate with the food truck rallies for no fees because they're an area affected. And we hope some of the businesses that, a chance when you've seen some of our events to be out there, whether you're handing out your cards saying 20% off haircuts, 20% off nails, or advertising your business with a crowd that fills the street. We're going to try to encourage. Karen Lemons is going to be our ambassador, try to encourage, listen, this is the way. During this, set up a table, advertise your product or your service. You have all these people that probably don't even know you exist, whether you're a business in the arcade or somewhere. You're going to have a whole... So Karen will work on some of those businesses and how they can take advantage of some of these events that close the street and work with them on how they can market the business and more than make up for any losses they might take during that day towards that they can make it up with the marketing and getting the word out about their business. So Karen's going to be working Karen's going to be delivering these downtown and we're going to be delivering them at the docks. Just so everybody, sees them and try to work with them, and again, try to work individually with some of the ones affected. We'll still work on downtown, having some areas blocked off for parking for people who want to park and visit the businesses, get in and whatever repairs done and get out of the event, and any other things that the affected businesses, anything that we can do for them to assist them with, signages to that parking or that, we will continue working with them as we've talked to them to do that. So I think we've come a ways since we've had the discussions and the different views of downtown events. I think we got a good plan for the year to let everybody know about, and we'll continue working with those businesses affected to help get them involved and make the impact as minimal as possible on them.
Thank you, sir. One of the things is that I know that in the special events application, it talks about a report on the numbers and other things that we think that's important. I would definitely hope that the businesses and the individuals that are now doing the special events are filling those out so that it's something for commissioners in the future to look at in terms of the impact that these events are having. The other thing is I know that this is one of the steps, but hopefully we will be looking at that, what we have for us, I guess. I'm not sure. I think the attorney looked at that as being an ordinance that we might have as it relates to special events, just so that there are some things that's done in there that we don't hear from some of the individuals as it relates to how many times in an area that you can have events and those type of things, that we can clean that up as we go forward. But I think this is at least a step that would help some of the businesses know exactly when these events are being proposed, and hopefully that will help some of them to be able to make some adjustments.
Yes, we are working. That will be coming back to you. The special events ordinance that will be coming back to you. We're working on that, and that's going to come to you soon. And also, everybody has been told it is mandatory that they turn those forms in at the end, or they've been told that they'll not be able to apply for another until those forms are in. They need to comply with that before turning them in. So everybody knows, and they've been getting them. So those reports are an absolute requirement to turn in.
Mr. Tarpon.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you bringing up the forms for what are we calling those?
Post event
success rate, whatever. No, I think that was something that was brought up at one of our last meetings. I thought it was a great idea then. I still think it is. So I'm glad to hear that that's being posted, that that's a mandatory thing for a special event application. Other than that, I just appreciate you, Mr. LaCour, spearheading this and coming up with a really good idea, quote unquote, of when these events are going to be. I think that'll really help some of the businesses that were struggling with the closures to be able to better plan or better advertise or let their customers know, like, hey, look, this Saturday, 2 months in advance versus just sometimes in the past a couple weeks in advance, like, look, the street's going to be closed, you need to make other arrangements. So I just want to thank you for that. I know it's becoming a little bit of a burden to this board to have to discuss it every other meeting and have discussions for special events, et cetera. So I appreciate that. I know you as well as other members of the board have met with individuals and got some feedback on what they think would be a success moving forward. So I tip my hat. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Slaughter?
Thank you, and I want to thank the city manager for bringing this forward quickly for us, because it has been quite a concern. When will or have they yet, the merchants get a copy of this?
Well, not yet. I want you to see it first, so we'll be talking about distribute it starting tomorrow. I wanted the commission to look at it first.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it, and the only one which we've already approved and we discussed is the Autos for Autism. Other than that, it's that's an all-day thing. But other than that, this is great. And and if they could start filling those forms out, because I know it was quite a few years ago we approved it, for the post event, and I have never seen any. So this is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Mr. Lawson? Vice Mayor?
Now, I just want to say that I'm glad that Mr. LaCour is doing that. I think this is a step in the right direction, so everybody can plan for the year, knowing what events are going to take place. I like the fact that local businesses are going to be involved. Restaurants are going to be involved in can be invited to participate in the food truck rally. So that'll be good for the businesses too, because some of the restaurants downtown, when we have that event, they're complaining that they aren't getting a fair shake. So that now it gives them the opportunity to participate and take advantage of it. So I think it's a good thing.
Well, and along that lines, I do think that having the members involved and going and talking about maybe ways that businesses haven't thought about how they can benefit from it is a definite plus. So, we look forward to hearing the result here and other places. With that, we'll go to item number 28, appointment to the Heritage Preservation Board, and this is one where we can either move up an alternate or select an applicant from the list. If we move the alternate up, then we need to select someone for an alternate position. So,
I am ready to make a motion for that, Mr. Mayor, to move the alternate up and appoint Mrs. Phyllis Corleanos to as an alternate.
Is everybody in agreement with that, or would y'all like to go through the process of selecting someone? I see a thumbs up down there, and another one. So,
we're good.
All right. With that, did we get a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any public comments on this item? Roll call.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Slatter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Malhus?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
The next item that we have is appointment to Housing Authority Board. We have one applicant that a resignation. So with that,
I make a motion to appoint Robin Stanger to fill the term of Juliana Day. Term will expire November 22nd, 2015.
Second.
any public comments on this item? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Slatter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Malhus?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 30, appointment to Code Enforcement Board. We can either move up alternate 1 or 2 and select an applicant from the list. If alternate 1 or 2 is selected, then we need to appoint someone for the vacancy from the alternate position. And we have a number of individuals, so.
Just forward a comment. I spoke with Mr. Sobolewski, and he's interested in being a regular member if the board chooses.
That's
He's called me a couple times this week.
That's the current alternate?
That's
Reappointed
alternate.
from last
He's
year.
alternate number 1.
Oh, okay.
So there's a memo in here.
Anybody have any thoughts or feelings? Commissioner Lawson?
I would move to appoint alternate number 1, Jerome Sobolewski, to fill the unexpired term.
Second.
Is everybody in agreement with that? Any public comments on this item? Roll call?
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Slatter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Malhus?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes.
We need an alternate.
We need an alternate now.
Now we need to select an alternate.
I move to nominate Thomas Smith.
Well, since I probably have somebody else that's different, I guess we'll go down the line and see what we got.
Alan Plunkett?
And I'll look to support Alan Plunkett Jr.
Mr. Plunkett for me also.
Alan Plunkett.
If we can get a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Any public comments? Roll call?
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Slatter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Malhus?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 31, affirm appointment to firefighters pension board. Firm selection of firefighters pension board member Carlton Howard. Can we get a motion for that?
Motion to affirm.
Second.
Any public comments? Roll call?
Commissioner Tarpon?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Slatter? Yes. Vice Mayor Hoover?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. With that concludes our regular session agenda, and we go to our esteemed chief.
I'm not a captain this week.
I don't know, according to what you say, you always can be demoted. I second that.
No, we just look forward to 2 awards next week, one for our homeless officer, which I believe the commission's doing, and we're going to do one for our accreditation manager here. So we look forward to that. Thank you.
Dr. Love.
All quiet on the legal front.
Mr. City Manager. One thing that goes back to the Fire Pension Board, despite our recent blitzes and our obtaining of a lot of applicants for boards, we still have 2 vacancies that are the city representatives for the Fire Pension Board. I want to emphasize city representatives because we do have some issues that we're concerned about city-wise about the firefighters and their pension and the cost. We'll see it again budget time. So obviously these need to be people that represent the city's interests. I think what scares everybody from this position is that there's not many people that know a lot about pensions. They don't feel they can get on the board. The quandary we have is in their audit, it was made mention about the money that we get for that and that we have to have a full board. So they're asking for an answer with me from in 14 days of how I plan to fill that so it doesn't in the future affect our money. So if you know anybody, even on a temporary basis, that would do it temporary. We're going to try to talk to some of the ones on other boards and stuff and see, again, maybe with the promise of it won't, for instance, if they want planning and zoning, other ones won't affect them, but at least temporarily so I can supply the names of pension board members until we can get somebody to go. It's just we have been trying for months to get somebody to go on the board. So again, even if it's for temporary, if you know of any names, I'd like to have 2 people by the 19th to put as city representatives on that board. So I'm just asking your help and the audience, and we'll advertise again. If there's anybody that is interested in serving, the Fire Pension Board needs 1 supporter. So it would be nice if they had some financial backing or stuff, but a lot of this common sense is very good in this process too. So please, if you know anybody, get them in touch with the clerk's office, and let's go out and find 2 members to be on that board so we can have it filled. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
All quiet.
Commissioner Lawson.
No comment.
Vice Mayor.
No comment.
Commissioner Slattery.
No comment.
Commissioner Tarpon.
Thank you. Mr. LaCourse, at our last meeting I asked about the Spring Bayou project, and I can't remember what you told me as far as when the lighting consultant was going to have his report.
Oh, it should have been any day. In fact, since I was gone Monday, we probably should have asked Tom tonight what time was, but I'll find out tomorrow and stuff. But,
is that something you think would maybe be on our next agenda? At least the findings of the report, or?
Yeah, so as soon as we get it, I can report that to you, because as soon as we get that, we're ready to move with bidding out the project and bringing you that bid for the...
If you don't mind, let me know what you find out.
I will.
Okay. And then the only other thing is, if the chief could help me out, what's for the fallen soldiers in the line of duty, or the fallen...
You mean the dedication memorial?
Yeah, could you announce that, please?
Yeah, that will be on March 13th in front of the Public Safety Facility at 9:30 a.m. And it will be there's a 9/11 memorial, and then there's a police and fire memorial. Obviously, there's 4 police officers, marshals that were killed in line of duty going back to the early 1900s and before, so they're all on a granite stone. And thank God no firefighters have been killed, so that side is blank, and let's always hope it stays that way.
Good.
But that's it. It'll be a ceremony. There'll be a couple speakers, and we look forward to people joining us.
Thank you. That's all I have.
And I don't have anything, so we will adjourn this meeting at 9:04.